SEC.
Yes. So the game we're mentioning here is Northwestern and Syracuse, two teams that we have not discussed here on the show yet. I don't know. What are your thoughts here?
I don't know. The Wildcats, which is a pretty neat mascot. And then, of course, you got the Orange, which is the opposite of that. But, Syracuse kind of came on the scene last year as a pretty decent team, had a pretty nice defense, but I don't think they've got it this year. Syracuse is not a place where they're going to turn out. They're going to turn out two decent teams back-to-back. Northwestern, the last 3 years, has been on a steady incline. I think I'm going to go Northwestern on this one. Yeah. Also, they wear purple.
They do wear purple. They lost Dan Persa, who was their quarterback. He was the quarterback in, I believe, maybe all the way back to 2009.
No, they had Kafka.
That was a different guy. Yeah. You're right. Very similar. I get all these Northwestern quarterbacks confused.
They are confusing. It's because they keep pumping out good guys year after year.
Right. So I saw an interesting comparison the other day between Northwestern and Vanderbilt. They were saying that Northwestern was kind of backsliding while Vanderbilt was moving up. Two schools kind of in similar situations, traditionally known for academics and power football conferences. I don't know that I would necessarily say that Northwestern is backsliding, but they certainly seem to kind of hit a ceiling, if you will. Maybe 7 or 8 wins a year. Yeah. That's kind of reasonable for them. Syracuse, though, is a really intriguing team. They got a lot of returning starters coming back on defense. Offensively, they got a lot of questions, but just for the sake of upset special, I don't know if you call it that or not, but
probably not.
I'm going to go with Syracuse here. I haven't heard a whole lot out of them lately, but maybe they're a team that can kind of turn the corner here.
When the line's 1.5 it's basically a coin flip.
Right. So, and the great thing about the Pick 10 here is that we'll be able to start our new opening segment for the show next week called Good Call, Bad Call.
So excited about this. We're going to take the clips from when we picked games the week before, and we'll have a good call for the ones that were amazing, but the more fun ones will be the bad call,
yes,
which is where we just failed miserably.
So I'm just going to go ahead and make a note here in my notebook, circle this one, that this may be one way or the other
bad call
on that list. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm going to take Syracuse. David's going to take Northwestern in that one. Let's go on to another one that's going to be a little bit difficult to pick. Miami at Boston College. ACC matchup. Miami, of course, under investigation for everything under the sun, including booster-paid abortions.
It's pretty. Once you get to that point, it's pretty bad at their university.
It's pretty nuts. I guess everything was kind of overshadowed by Penn State, but still a lot of bad things happening in Miami. Boston College really has underachieved the past couple of years.
They have not been good. They've had some really good individual talents with some linebackers and defensive players, but outside of that, as a team, they've been awful.
Yeah, they were, a few years ago, a really good team.
Well, they had Matt Ryan, which is a big part of that.
But even after that, they still had some 8 and 9 win seasons, but I think at some point the athletic director fired their coach because he interviewed for an NFL job.
Right.
And after that, things have just been all downhill for them. But these are two teams that are kind of at the low of their cycle right now. Miami doesn't really have a whole lot of great players yet. They have some really young talent. Boston College has some more guys returning, but probably less talent than Miami has. So I don't know which way
I'm going to go with talent. I think Miami's probably going to win this one pretty well.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Miami too. I think it may be close, but I think Miami's going to struggle this year overall, but this is a game they can win. Let's go to another even more difficult game to pick because we really know nothing about either of these teams. I'm just going to make up a name for it. The Mile High Battle.
Okay, I like that.
I don't know if that is what you would call it or not. Colorado at Colorado State.
Square State Challenge.
I don't know what Colorado's state name is.
Square State Standoff.
Yes, we'll go with that. And the Square State Standoff, Colorado State, two teams that have been really bad lately, probably will continue to be so, but since it's a rivalry game, we'll go ahead and try to get them in here once for the Pick 10. I guess Alabama's offensive coordinator from last year is head coach at Colorado State.
That's correct.
Is that correct? So, I don't know. What do you think here?
I don't know. I think towards the end of the year, Colorado actually looked pretty good, and they've got a lot of people coming back. Colorado State is never good. So I think I'm going to go with Colorado. And if you remember earlier in the year, I had them as one of my dark horse predictions. I think Colorado's going to beat USC this year. I think they're going to be the team that comes out of nowhere.
Man, I'm making a big mark on that.
And just upsets USC. So we'll take a look at them later in the year.
All right, so that footage was at approximately 36 minutes in this show, so we can go ahead and get that back in there.
For the bad call segment, right?
Yes. I'm going to go with Colorado in this one, too, just based off of conference supremacy. Colorado's in the Pac-12. Colorado State, I believe, is in the WAC or something like that. So
who knows at this point?
Colorado probably has some better players. We'll go with them. Let's travel from the Square State all the way over to the Emerald Isle.
Right.
Navy and Notre Dame opening up Saturday morning, 9 a.m., Dublin, Ireland. Pretty cool concept, I think, for them to be playing this game. Maybe not so good for Notre Dame because they got a lot of suspended players.
A lot of suspended players. It's a weird time, and they're wearing a heresy for shoes. I mean, no person should ever put on these shoes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Notre Dame shoes for Dublin, and you will get a picture of what they're wearing. It's awful. They look like they're sprinters from Ireland.
Yeah, I haven't seen the uniforms. I'll take your word for it. I was never a big fan of Notre Dame's regular uniforms to begin with. People say they're classy and all, but
it just means they're plain.
To me, they're not very sharp. Navy has been competitive with Notre Dame the past couple of years. They beat them a few years ago. Obviously, as we mentioned, Notre Dame has a lot of players suspended, but I really think this is the year that Notre Dame has to do something. They got some guys coming in. They got a little bit more on defense. They've seen Navy's option attack a few times. That's usually kind of what trips people up. I'm going to take Notre Dame in this one. I don't know about you.
I'm going to go with Navy. I think Notre Dame.
Really?
I think Notre Dame has to make a statement this year. I just don't think they can do it. I think with all the things that's going on, with the weird little funky offense, and with all the people suspended, Notre Dame just can't get over their own mental hurdle. So I'm going to pick Navy on this one.
I'd feel differently if it was in the middle of the season, but since it's the opener, they've had a little bit of time to prepare. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
They've had time to prepare, but their starting quarterback and running back are both suspended.
That's true. That's true. Details.
Oh, yeah.
Details. All right. The last game on the Pick 10, Battle of the Techs, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, ACC matchup. A pretty good game to start the season here. What do you think about this one?
We got the Hokies and the Ramblin' Wreck, so neither one of their mascots make any sense.
Absolutely not, no.
I don't know. Virginia Tech traditionally has been a little better, and Georgia Tech, I think they've hit their ceiling with that option attack. I don't think they're going to get a lot better. They had some really good running backs come out of there a couple years ago, but they haven't gone out and replaced them. There's not a whole lot of young, talented kids nowadays who want to get in that kind of offense just because it's not a me-first offense. You spread the ball out a lot, so I'm going to take Virginia Tech. I think they've got more talent, and I think their quarterback has got a chance to be a dark horse Heisman guy. I think the Hokies will come out with that one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Hokies here, too. A lot of people have been talking up Logan Thomas, a really large quarterback for Virginia Tech, getting some Cam Newton comparisons. We'll see about that one. Virginia Tech's got a lot of newcomers on offense, but the defense is always strong under Bud Foster there. And you kind of mentioned that maybe the option's sort of losing its effectiveness. Virginia Tech, they played them every year for a few years. They probably know how to prepare for that a little bit better now. So I'm going to go ahead and take Virginia Tech in that one too. Let's run through the picks here real quick, make sure everybody knows who we got. So we're in the interest of fairness. Auburn, Clemson, we're split. I'm taking Auburn. David's taking Clemson. We're both taking Alabama over Michigan. I'm taking Tennessee. David's taking NC State in that kickoff classic matchup. We're both taking Louisville over Kentucky. We're both taking South Carolina over Vandy in the game that's in progress as we speak. Both taking Michigan State over Boise State. David's taking Northwestern. I'm taking Syracuse in that matchup. We're both taking Miami over Boston College. Both taking Colorado over Colorado State. David's calling for the upset, Navy over Notre Dame. I'm taking Notre Dame in that one, and we're both taking Virginia Tech over Georgia Tech. Real quick, we got about 5 minutes left in the show. Let's talk conference champs real quick. We'll start with the least. Let's go with the Big East. Who you got there?
I've got to have Louisville. If I'm going to predict them to be a dark horse or in the top 10, they've got to have a good year. So I'm going to take Louisville in the Big East.
All right, I'm going to throw out a little bit of a wild card here. I'm going to say Pitt.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
I don't know.
Pitt hangs around every year.
They did. And the Big East is only 8 teams. Not that hard to win it. So we'll see. All right, let's go to the ACC. Who you got there?
I've got Florida State. I'm typically not a believer, but I think they've got the talent. They're going to fumble around and get a couple losses, but I think Florida State's got the talent to be at the top of the league. I don't think Clemson can repeat.
Yeah, I've hopped on the Florida State bandwagon and gotten run over by trucks too many times. I'm just going to go ahead and do what I should do every year, take Virginia Tech, and be done with it. So,
every 3 or 4 years, Virginia Tech's going to win. That's pretty simple.
They're going to get it. So, all right, let's move on to the Big Ten. Who you got?
The Big Ten, I've got Wisconsin. I'm a big believer in their rushing attack. I think any quarterback that you put in there is going to have some open receivers on the play action pass. So, and I really like their defense. I think Wisconsin's a good team.
All right, I'm going to take Michigan State. I've already professed my love for them on this show many times. I love that defense. I think that Big Ten pretty winnable this year, especially since Ohio State and Penn State are out of the question. So I'm going to go with Michigan State there. Let's jump from the Big Ten to the Big 12.
Okay. In the Big 12, I've got West Virginia winning in their first year. I guess that might be a little odd choice. A lot of people are going to say Texas, Oklahoma, but I think West Virginia comes in and makes a splash in their first year.
I don't think that's an odd choice at all. West Virginia, I think they're going to do some impressive things on offense. You don't really have to play that much defense in the Big 12, so that's a good choice. I'm going to go with Oklahoma. They got, as usual, pretty well stocked cupboard up there. Texas is kind of down, their main competition. If they can handle West Virginia, I think they're in pretty good shape. Pac-12, what do you think?
I've got USC. Now, I do believe, as you heard, that they're going to lose at least one, maybe 2 games, but I think they come away with a conference victory anyway.
Yeah, I mentioned this on the show last week. I had Oregon as my number 1 team in our hypothetical top 10, so of course I'm going to pick Oregon as the Pac-12 champs. I think you may see USC beat Oregon during the season, and then maybe Oregon come back and win the Pac-12 championship.
Very possible.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right, best for last, SEC. What do you think?
I've got, in the championship game, I've got South Carolina versus LSU, and I really see this as the year of the Gamecock. I think they can come through and they can beat LSU in that game. I've got South Carolina.
Really? All right. Well, I got the same matchup in the SEC championship. I got LSU winning. As far as the national championship goes, I got LSU and Oregon in there. I wrestled back and forth on this one, but I just don't see how Oregon would match up well with LSU. I think it's going to be a corn dog championship this year.
So you've got LSU as your national champ. I've actually got South Carolina and Wisconsin. I too had a really, really hard time picking who would win that one. Big on Wisconsin's defense. I really like the running game. But I think South Carolina, I think they take it. Plus, I'm kind of an SEC homer, so I say South Carolina wins it. SEC takes home the crown with a different team this time.
All right, so we got surprise pick there, South Carolina, and I'm gonna be boring, go with LSU. What do you think? What do you think? One big surprise from this weekend? Anything you see coming up
this weekend? Not really. I think there's a lot of vanilla games. I think more than anything, people are going to take away from this week how good Vandy played. I think there's going to be maybe 1 or 2 minor upsets, but I don't think we'll see a whole lot.
All right, so goal number 1, make sure David gets to watch the Auburn secondary this weekend, see how improved they are. Hopefully that one's not going to end up on bad call as well. Folks, enjoy your first weekend of college football. It's finally here. You earned it. Watch some games. Don't do any work this weekend. Drink some of your favorite beverage, and we will see you next week right here on Outputting Our Coverage.
Where we'll be talking about some real football.
Real football results, real football previews, all kinds of good stuff. We'll see you next week.